Good evening, everyone. I hope that everyone has been able to log in. We're just getting ready to get started. You're going to have an opportunity to scan a QR code for your attendance, but you can also put your attendance in our chat box. Here is the link for signing in. I see someone has already put in their child's name. Thank you so much. If you can go ahead and scan this QR code in order to log in, that would be great. Go ahead and also put your child's name in the chat. And we're going to give everybody a few minutes to do that, just to make sure that we have everyone signed in. Okay. Thank you all for doing that. Go ahead and give it maybe one more minute, and then we're going to go get started. You can continue to put the names in the chat as we go through our presentation. I actually like to tell families this is the most important part of tonight for you, is to make sure you log your attendance. Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started with our introductions. Again, welcome everyone to our 2024 Preschool Community Peer Family Orientation Evening. We're going to start with some introductions. I'm Melissa Deutschman. I'm the Special Education Coordinator for the MEC for preschool and kindergarten. I've been in this role for, 12 years, and I've been in Middleborough longer than that. Really excited to introduce also this evening Mr. Gobeil. Who are you, Jeremy?
I'm Jeremy Gobeil. I'm the principal at the Early Childhood Center. It's pre-K and K. Very excited about starting your child's educational journey in Middleborough with us here at MEC.
Great. And we have Shauna.
Hi, I'm Shauna Susi. I'm one of the preschool teachers here at MEC. This is my first year at MEC in Middleborough. However, I've been teaching for over 16 years.
Lori.
Hi, everyone. My name is Laurie Johnson. I'm the school nurse, and this is my 20th year as a school nurse and 41 years as a nurse. Welcome.
And Patty.
Hi, I'm Patty Curfew. I'm one of the other early childhood preschool teachers here at the MEC.
Hey, and Steph.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Pixoto. I'm one of 3 speech-language pathologists at Memorial Early Childhood Center.
And Kira.
Hi, I'm Kira Drugan. I'm the school psychologist at the MEC. Your kids will get to know me by going into the classroom regularly to introduce concepts of zones of regulation and social thinking.
Great. Also, we had hoped to have our special education director, Jennifer Healy, with us this evening. Unfortunately, she's having some technical difficulties. She also had a conflict. We are running, as I'm sure you all are, running around trying to cover many things at once. And Mrs. Healy is also covering our Special Education Parent Advisory Council, known as CPAC, meeting this evening. Some of you may be familiar with that group, so we do always have a lot going on, and she's covering that. If she can join us, she will. And we'll have her introduce herself when that comes, but we're also don't want to keep you all waiting. So thank you. Okay. So Mr. Gobeil, you want to start with some welcome information to the MEC?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mrs. Deutschman. Yeah, so the Memorial Early Childhood Center is pre-K and K. We have, it's an amazing place. Actually, this is my 4th year as the principal of this building, and I have never had a bad day, which I think is kind of neat. We definitely focus on an inclusive environment. and that we have students that have identified special needs, as well as our typical peers or our community peers. And it's just an amazing place, starting in our pre-K programs, and then our students move on from pre-K into our kindergarten classrooms. And it's just a happy place to be. So I think that's pretty much it for now.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Gobiel. I'm going to share with everybody this evening the statement that Mrs. Healy was going to share with you. Again, she had a conflict and technical difficulties were preventing her from being able to jump on and join us. She just wanted to welcome you all. It was her privilege, and it is her privilege to work with everyone and to talk to you about the programming that we offer at the MEC for our preschool families in particular. This is very important work that we do to ensure that students have the ability to succeed. This is her second year as our Director of Special Education, and she's been fortunate to be working in the district for the last 13 years. She's done both middle school and as a special education teacher, and also as what we call a substantially separate special education teacher. She's witnessed firsthand the dedication of the staff of our students and families, and I can echo that as well. This may be your first experience with Middleborough Public Schools, and we think it's important for you to understand our value system and why our integrated preschool programming is such an important place for students to begin their journey. The word inclusion is often misperceived as a reference to a specific classroom where special education students might be serviced or supported. However, inclusion is not a classroom. It is a mindset. It's a promise that we make to all of our students that they are welcome within all spaces of the Middleborough Public Schools. In doing this, we remind all learners that they have voice, agency, and a purpose in our greater community. It is up to us as a district to ensure equitable access to learning, to offer opportunities for social engagement, and to create a culture where we value differences. For our preschool programming, this is just the beginning of the educational journey for your child we'll take with us. We have so much to share with your children, but some of the most valuable organic learning comes from one another. It is our hope that students within this program will not only gain the readiness skills needed for entering kindergarten, but also develop the pro-social behaviors, tolerance of others, and respect for differences of all kinds. As we continue with our presentation tonight, you'll have the opportunity to meet some of the amazing staff. We've just done our introductions. As I said, I'm Melissa Deutschman. I'm the Special Education Coordinator. Both Ms. Carifio and Ms. Susi have combined almost 30 years experience together working with young learners. Mrs. Drugan has been with us for 10 years, quite a while. Mrs. Johnson has been with us for, as she said, 20 years. And Ms. Pexoto has been with us 2 years, but she brings a lot of experience with this age group. In addition to the wonderful staff we have here tonight, we also offer a robust range of other services such as occupational therapy, physical therapy, and adaptive physical education, behavioral supports, and some therapeutic supports. We look forward to another great year within our pre-K programming, and we continue to watch our program grow and evolve in order to support all of our children. And as I said, I've been here for a while. It's just so amazing to me how our program has continued to grow over the years. Every year we talk about what we can do better and how we can improve what we're doing with your children. And we thank you for participating in our program, because this is what makes it grow. So with that said, we're going to move on to our next piece. Tuition and volunteers. So this is a tuition-based program for our community peers. For those of you, and I know I've seen on the chat a lot of familiar names. We do have some families who are coming back to us, who have been with us with community peers in the past. And we have other families who've participated with us in preschool programming through other methods, in other ways. But for this particular community peer program, this is a tuition-based program. The fee is based on the number of sessions per week. So we'll talk later about the 4-day versus the 5-day option. We are a half-day program. And the fee is going to be based on what program your child ends up, either the 4-day or the 5-day. I do have a note on the slide that our fee is subject to change pending the school committee approval. There will be an upcoming school committee meeting, I believe, at the end of this month. Possibly, I believe it'll be March 21st. And at that point, there will be a presentation proposing a modest increase, very small. I believe it's a $3 increase over our current tuition rates. If you've been watching our school committee meetings, you may have seen our superintendent, Mrs. Lyons, presenting the budget for this year. And we do count on the income from this program as part of our operating budget here in Middleborough. So it is very important that families who do agree to become part of this program are able to meet that commitment. So you'll be seeing some more information on that, assuming everything goes through with school committee on the 21st. When you come in for your screening appointment on the 26th or 27th, we'll have an update for you on the tuition rate. It's currently $10. And like I said, we're looking at I think it's a $3 increase per session, which would be $12 to $15 for the week. Failure to pay will result, unfortunately, in having students leave our program. As I had noted, this is part of our operating budget, is very important. We have a long waiting list of students who were not in the top 42 and who are not here tonight. And we do really need to focus on ensuring that we have families who are able to meet that commitment. Compared to what's going on in the rest of the community and other similar programs, our fee is significantly lower than the private programs. Fee schedule in terms of when the fees are due is sent out to families by July. And we'll give you more information about that as you come through screening. We are going to have a Q&A part at the end of this presentation. So if you have any questions about that, hold those till the end, and I'm happy to answer any questions about that then. So then we also have information about volunteers and Corey checks. Mr. Gobil, do you want to touch on that one?
Yes, I would. It's been an interesting journey for me in that I started at MEC in the middle of COVID, and volunteers were basically strictly prohibited. Nobody was supposed to be anywhere within any kind of range of anybody, so it was pretty interesting. But we're out of that at this point, and we do definitely encourage volunteers. We do expect that folks that want to come into the building and volunteer in the classrooms or at school events, that they submit a Corey request form, which can be done in the main office, actually at any of our schools in the district. And once that's approved, then those people can come in and volunteer in the buildings, whether it's in the classroom or at PTA events. And that could be at our school or at any of the schools if you have children that have siblings at other buildings. And we definitely encourage that. And I know that our pre-K folks and all of our teachers really appreciate and enjoy having family members into the building, helping out in many different capacities, from school events to just in the classroom. So it's definitely encouraging. We definitely I feel like we're getting out of the COVID era and looking to have more people in the building as much as possible, because we know that parents and family members of our youngest learners are so excited about being around and being in the buildings, and being involved in what's going on in their children's educational journey.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, if you have any questions about volunteer or Corey checks, please put those in the chat. Or as I did see, there was a message in the chat. If you're not comfortable putting a message out publicly, we will have contact information too, so that you can send us questions that way. All right, let's move on. I believe we have health presentation. Oh, no, enrollment. It's still me. For each prospective students who are going to be participating in the screening, you all should have gotten your screening time with your letter. If you scroll down the letter that told you to come in tonight, there's also the screening information with your day and time. So screenings are going to be March 26th and 27th. I'm going to repeat that a couple times tonight. When you come in at that point, you're going to be bringing your child's health record. That's going to include the most recent physical immunization with lead level. Mrs. Johnson's going to touch on that in a few minutes. You're going to bring that to the screening. She's going to be there to collect your health paperwork. You're not going to bring your other registration paperwork that night, because we want to wait to make sure your child has passed the screening and is moving on to the registration phase. If they do pass, we will then give you the registration piece at that point so that you're able to move on to the next phase. And then you're going to be completing an online registration in our Aspen system and uploading any remaining documents. Okay, and I do see some questions coming in. We'll get to those at the end of the Q&A. All right, our next slide. Registration documents. This, again, is not something you're necessarily going to be bringing to the screening other than the health record, but I do like to give families a heads up ahead of time so that you can be thinking about what documents you may need, and you can start collecting them in anticipation of moving to this phase. So the health record is the physical immunization. Please bring that to your screening appointment. Then you're also going to need the official birth certificate. Once you've been given the green light to register, you'll be uploading that or dropping it off with our registrar. Proof of residency, we'll be giving you at the screening a list of the documents that our registrar can collect. That'll be uploaded after the screening as well at that time. Again, after the screening, you'll be given a letter with all this information ready. And if there's any legal documents such as custody arrangements, that would need to be uploaded at that time too. Or if you have difficulty with uploading, we do have a Dropbox. Any incomplete files with missing items won't be accepted. And again, our registrar is the one that helps families sort through the documents that they have, and she'll let you know what else you need. If you don't bring your physical or immunization record to the screening, the nurse will talk to you about what she needs, and then we'll need to get that. You absolutely have to have that stuff before school starts. Any questions about documents are going to be directed to our registrar. Her name is Katie Godine. This is her phone number, 508-946-2000, and she's at extension 3716. We have her contact at the end of these slides, but we also have them on the handout that you'll get at screening. So try to give you this information in multiple ways. This may sound a little redundant, but we just want to make sure everybody has the information that they need. Great. Just for a heads up on what you may need for proof of residency, it's going to be either a mortgage or a lease statement within the last 60 days. That'll be 60 days at the time you submit it. Tenants at will can document their recent payment in writing with the landlord's signature and date. Again, Mrs. Godine is the best person to talk to about how to do that. In addition to that, she's also going to be looking for a utility bill, the most recent, with the address that matches the mortgage and lease. In addition to that, she's going to be looking for a driver's license or a state-issued ID with an address that matches. We've had questions from families in the past. What if I just moved, or if I have an out-of-state license because they just moved? We just always encourage you to talk to the registrar. She can work through things with families. What we can't have is just nothing coming in. So again, you'll be talking to her about that. And there's more information about the whole registration process on our district website, which the link is listed right there. But you can also just look up Middleborough Public Schools registration, and it should take you there. As I said before, when you're told to do so by your child's screener, you're going to be given a handout. You're going to register in Aspen using our online application process. The only caveat is that we do have some students who are previously registered with us because they've gone through an evaluation process for other type services. If that's your situation, we'll talk to you about that. And then all documents are going to be uploaded there electronically, or if you have difficulty with electronic uploads, you can also physically drop them off at a lockbox at School Street. That's located at 6 School Street. It's our central office location, and she has a Dropbox specifically designated for that. There's a link for the registration. And if you do have difficulty completing electronically or you need any assistance, again, our registrar will be available to help folks. Please don't bring anything other than the health records to the screening because we will not be collecting other documents then. We're just giving you all this information now so you can start thinking about it and maybe putting it together in a folder to get ready for when that time comes. And I do see some questions about this. Again, I'll get to the answer on all the questions at the end of the chat. So quick summary, again, you're going to be coming to the screening on the 26th or 27th. You're going to be meeting with the nurse to review your child's health record immunizations. After that, you'll be doing the registration in Aspen when told to do so, and you'll be uploading and or providing your documents into Aspen at that point. Okay. Now we're going to get to the nurse's information for Mrs. Johnson.
Hi, everyone. I do want to say this is truly a wonderful program. My youngest daughter went to this program 24 years ago. It was great then, and it's still wonderful. It's truly amazing in our building. I I want to go over some of the health information. Next slide, please. Which is required for your child to come to our preschool program. And as it was mentioned before, I do need the 4-year physical. And if you could just take a peek at it, I cannot accept a visit summary, a health summary, a progress note. It actually has to be the physical that's signed by the pediatrician. That includes all the immunizations, which need to be up to date. It includes a lead level, and any medical or health conditions should be on the physical. And obviously, if your child does have a medical concern, we will go over that when I meet with each and every one of you in a couple of weeks. And if your child will require any medication in school, I do need a doctor's order for that medication, whether it's over the counter or not. And that order does need to be dated after June 30th. Anything prior to June 30th would be considered the school year that we're on now. So some parents are very diligent and get the doctor's order for the albuterol inhaler, and it's dated before June 30th, and it cannot be accepted. You will have to fill out an authorization that gives me permission to give your child medication in school. I will give you a care plan when we meet that you will fill out, and then we'll go over it together. And I do like to have a picture of your child, and I give a copy of that to your teacher. And all medications, just so that you know, I'm sure you know, must be brought in by an adult and brought to me. You cannot send it in with your child and put it in their backpack. Next slide. Just quickly going over the protocol for your child to be in school. They do need to be fever-free for 24 hours without the use of Tylenol or ibuprofen. And that they have to be vomit and diarrhea free for 24 hours after the last episode, with or without a temperature. So even if they do not have a temperature and they're vomiting, they cannot come back the next day. And your child will come in and they will tell the teacher that they threw up in bed last night, and the teacher will contact me, and I'll be contacting you. If your child is diagnosed with, say, strep throat, pneumonia, conjunctivitis, impetigo, anything that's quite contagious, they do need to be on the antibiotic for 24 hours, a full day, before they can come back. And please make sure that they're feeling well enough to be in school, because it, you know, they play together, they're close, they love each other, and they also spread their germs to one another. So please make sure that they're feeling well enough to be here, and go over the cough and sneeze etiquette, which, you know, we all know with COVID, and you know, make sure you go over their hand washing and toileting, and we do encourage healthy snacks. We do have a health and wellness policy. We do not share food for obvious reasons. And then we do have a number there we ask you to call, and that's for our building only. And I know a lot of parents will email the teacher and say their child is sick and won't be coming in. And I do ask that you call that number also, because the teacher doesn't always have time to forward that to me. Otherwise, you will get a call that will say that your child has an unexcused absence. And it's just a good idea to get used to that, because you will have to do that in kindergarten and through the elementary schools and every building, actually. So if your child's going to be out for any reason, whether it's a long weekend or they're not feeling well, please call that number. And if your child has, obviously, if they fracture, their arm or leg or whatever, and you email the teacher, please include me in any emails in regards to health. And I think that's it. Welcome to our program. You'll love it. Thank you.
Great. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about screening. I believe that Ms. Garifio is going to be doing that.
Yes, I am. I'm going to try to leave my camera off just because I keep dropping the call because of the streaming. But I'm glad you're all here. I see some names that I recognize and some new names. So we're all excited for this start of our 24-25 preschool year. So what I'm going to do is answer some of the following questions that you're going to have is what is screening? What do we do at screening? How do we screen? What happens at screening? And when will I know if my child is in? So the first part of this is the screening process. And that's the third part of our lottery process. Your child must come to the screening and participate in this part of the screening. And this is part, we use it, number one, to see where your child is a point in time, but we also use it as child find under IDEA. Each state has protocols, and this is one of the ones that Massachusetts has, where we look at students in the town of Middleborough that may or may not have suspected disabilities, and we do this as kindergarten screening and also as part of our screening for community peers. This screening allows us to look at your child's current development and to see if it's on target. It's a snapshot of where your child is at this point in time. So how do we screen? We use a tool called the Brigance. It's widely used in many early childhood programs throughout the country. It's a normed test, which is geared to certain ages. So if your child's 3, they'll be doing a 3-year-old screening. If your child's 4, they'll be doing a 4-year-old screening and asking skills of that age group. So each screening will take about 10 to 15 minutes. And we'll look at a variety of areas such as speech and language, communication, answering questions, attention, fine and gross motor skills, following directions. And all of these are age appropriate for your child's age. And we'll look at some pre-readiness skills for your child's age. So again, if your tool is used for your child's age, we're not going to ask a 4-year-old to do something that a 5 or 6-year-old should be expected to do. And the same for a 3-year-old. We're not going to ask them what a 4 or 5-year-old should do. So what will happen that day, you'll come in and check in at the office, and then you'll be brought and meet with a screener. At this point, please don't tell your child they're coming to preschool. You can tell them they're going to come play some games with the teachers at the school and see the school. We need to finish the screening process to make sure that your child's skills are on target. Come for your scheduled appointment time. They're scheduled back to back. And if you're a half an hour late, it makes it very difficult for us to stay on time for other people. You're going to get a form to fill out. And I noticed someone asked about what session. We ask that you can check off morning or afternoon, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But we ask for daycare purposes or transportation purposes that you select one of those. You'll be introduced to either myself or Ms. Shauna. We're going to bring your child upstairs to the auditorium while you'll meet with the nurse. We'll work with your child. If your child won't separate, we do really ask that you don't force them to. We want this to be a pleasant experience. We don't want them to, they're going to be nervous. We tell kids not to talk to strangers, and to some of the kids, Ms. Shauna and I, they've never met. So we don't want to force them. We'll try, but we don't want to force that at all. The screening process identifies the strengths of your child and if there are areas which need to be looked at further. So if after the screening, we'll bring your child back to you and we'll talk about the strengths, and we'll talk about if there's anything else that needs to be looked at further. The next steps after the screen will either be rescreen, where if we see that there's an area that we need to look at again, or your child doesn't separate, we'll meet and we'll have you come back and do it in a little less formal arena with Ms. Shauna and I. Rescreens will be arranged at a time that will be no children in the building, but you'll be down probably in the preschool area where it's a little quieter. And this may be for many reasons. We have many children who are rescreened. So if we have to rescreen, please don't get nervous. We'll make it very comfortable for you and your child. If you're moving forward with the registration process, we'll give you the information that Mrs. Deutschman has talked about, how you would register your child. So we look forward to meeting you on that day and working with you and your child. On the next slide. So this is what we're looking for. We're looking for community peers, and these are some things that make a good community peer, and what we're looking for: someone who separates easily from the parents, someone who can follow directions from a teacher, speaks clearly and models language and communication for others, shares and cooperates and is helpful, takes turns, independent with self-help skills. All children in our community peer program must be toilet trained when they start. That they can play and accommodate into new situations. They have age-appropriate developmental skills, that they can work well in groups as well as work alone, that they pay attention to activities, and they can transition to changes with flexibility in new environments and activities. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to meeting you.
Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Carriffio. Ms. Patty, as everyone knows her. Just wanted to kind of reiterate a little bit what we're talking about. All of those qualities we're looking for. We're not looking for everything in every child. We know that every child is unique and they bring their own unique perspective to our program. But like I said, we've been doing this for quite a long time. So we do have a good sense of what's going to make a great community peer and what may not be a great match for our program. And we'll talk to you about that. But we always offer every student at least a second, sometimes a third chance to rescreen. So don't worry about it. The first day, recognize our program is looking for children who are 4 by September 1st. It's March. Your screening is in March. So some of our kiddos are, up to 5 months away from their 4th birthday. So we do take that into account. We recognize that they're not all 4 yet, and they're not all going to be acting like 4-year-olds yet. So we do take that into account. Okay, so we're going to go into a typical day with Ms. Shauna.
Hello, everybody. So what does a typical day look like in preschool? It is very busy and fun-filled. Each of our classrooms follow a daily routine filled with activities and play. And we understand that children perform best when they have a regular schedule and know what to expect. Though each of Miss Patty and I's classroom routines may look a little different, they do encompass the same types of activities. And we love to play. Play is a valuable learning tool in our program. We follow the state standards for preschool age learners. We include handwriting without tears and lively letters to introduce concepts of drawing a person, writing names and letter sounds. These fundamental skills are explored as we learn skills for kindergarten and readiness. Let me talk to you about our arrival and dismissal. Arrival and dismissal, our students work on independence and taking care of their belongings and finding their cubbies, putting away backpacks and jackets and learning to put on their own jackets help build these skills. They also will pack and unpack their backpacks and zip up their backpacks. It's so nice to see them from the beginning of the year towards now at the end of the year of how independent our students can get. For large group activities, we do circle time, story time, and music and movement. This helps students learn to work together in a large group. During these times, we work on listening to stories, introducing new concepts, singing songs, and participating in group discussions. Large group time also helps children strengthen their skills in paying attention, waiting their turn, learning to control their bodies, and practicing listening skills. Another thing we do is activities and center times. So our center time involves more of a small group approach. Activities can include both independent exploration or teacher-directed. During this time, students work with and interact with peers as well as participate in a variety of activities where they actively engage with materials and other students. Small group activities may include playing with blocks, Play-Doh, sand table, art, engaging in dramatic play, playing games, and exploring math or science. Students also work on pre-readiness skills such as math and writing. One of our most important times of the day is our snack time. This is definitely everyone's favorite time of the day. Snack time may seem simple, but it is a busy learning time. We work on strengths and many social, emotional, and cognitive skills. We also work on self-help skills such as opening snacks, finding their space, cleaning up, and taking care of their snack boxes and other belongings. During snack time, we also practice language skills and social skills by asking questions and answering them to each other. Snack is also a perfect opportunity for children to work on these skills with their peers and teachers. You can often hear students engaging in conversations about their day or events in their life. Students learn to ask for help and to wait for their turn to talk. We also have the opportunity to participate in our daily, weekly, depending on the week actually, we participate in specialists such as music, art, and physical education. We also try to get as much outdoor time as we can. We have a preschool playground. We work on all of our large motor skills of climbing up the stairs and going down the slide and using a playground appropriately. As you can see, we are very busy during the day, playing and learning, and we have so much fun throughout the day. Thank you.
Okay, so we are our schedule. We run a 4 morning a week schedule and a 5 afternoon per week schedule. And you can see the times there. We've been running these times for the last few years. We found that they really work. If you have had a child at the MEC or you have been by the MEC, our parking lot situation is a little tight. And so we do want to make sure that our preschool families are coming and going at a time that doesn't quite interfere with what's happening with the kindergarten comings and goings. So you can see our morning session is 8:45 to 11:15. And again, that's Monday through Thursday. Don't offer a program on Friday mornings because that is when our teachers and staff are doing outreach to community programs, meeting with families, doing things like screenings, and connecting with other community partners. We do run 5 afternoons, and that is from 12 to 2:30. You can see that Monday through Friday. And we did have a question about how it's selected, and Patty had mentioned you will have an opportunity to let us know what your preference is. We do really look for folks that have work conflicts or other kind of conflicts. But again, you can talk to the teacher who's screening your child at the time and let us know. Somehow it always works out. We're usually able to work it out with what people are looking for. But if you have any questions at that point, we can talk to you about that at screening. And again, the 4-day program, obviously the tuition fee would be, you'd be billed for 4 days versus the 5-day. Okay, moving on. Now Ms. Steph is going to talk about how does the speech therapist integrate into our program. Not everybody who comes to our program needs speech therapy, but she's going to be there. She's an integral part of our program. So we'd like families to know what it is that she's doing and how your child might be interacting with her. So Ms. Steph.
Hi, my name is Steph. I'm one of the preschool speech language pathologists at MEC. I provide direct services to children ages 3 to 5 with identified disabilities in communication, which encompasses both language and articulation. At MEC, we are fortunate to have our speech therapy room located in the same hallway as Miss Shauna and Miss Patty, making collaboration that much easier. I provide speech language therapy both inside and outside of the classroom setting. When I'm in the classroom, I may be sitting at a table for snack time, facilitating conversation. I may be at a center with students encouraging play schemes and turn taking, or I may be running whole super groups where I come into the classroom and run a lesson that provides language enriching activities that benefit everyone, including the use of manipulatives, basic sign, visuals, crafts, fine motor, and music. You and your child will see me during pickup and drop-off times, at school events, and at parent-teacher conferences, working as a team with the preschool teachers and educational support staff. My role and responsibility also includes being a resource to you and your family. I'm available for any questions or concerns in the area of communication as your child is moving through important speech and language milestones in preschool. Welcome to MEC. It's an amazing place, and I look forward to meeting you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Steph. Okay, our next slide is actually about our social emotional program. You saw Mrs. Drugan at the very beginning. She introduced herself. Fortunately, she has connectivity issues, so she had to drop off. But I'm going to just recap what she does. She is our school psychologist. She works with both our preschool and our kindergarten families. She works with most families and students in a large group, but she also does some small group or individual work with students when needed. She does introduce the various social and emotional concepts that are part of our general curriculum. We like to introduce these concepts at the preschool level, and then as students move into kindergarten, they become familiar and they become the experts because they've already heard it in preschool, and now they're going to be hearing it again in kindergarten. We use the concepts and language from both the social thinking and zones of regulation programs, and these are also programs that carry into the elementary schools at the HBB and MKG schools. And these are introduced through whole class lessons. So Mrs. Drugan is one of our staff members who's in and out of the classrooms frequently. and the students become very familiar with seeing her in the room. And she's part of our team. So that gets to the end of our formal presentation. I do see we have a couple of questions in the chat. There was one question about the Corey check, and that was answered. A Corey is just, it's a background check that's run by the government, and there's a specific state form we have to do for that. So again, if you want to be a volunteer or a chaperone, you do need to do a Corey check, as Mr. Gobio mentioned earlier. And the Corey check has to be done by the Middleborough Public Schools. Now, if you've done one for another child, you don't need to do it again as long as it's been within the 3 years. But if you've done it for a different school district or for your employer, you would need to redo it through the Middleborough schools. We also had a question about how is it decided if the student has a morning or afternoon class. Hopefully we answered that through that presentation of the two. Again, we do ask families to let us know at the time of screening what their preference is, and specifically if there's a specific reason why you need from work-related or transportation-related reasons, let us know that at that time. You're going to have a little sheet to fill out that day. The teachers will let you know what ultimately your child is placed in. And we also had a question about whether or not they need to provide paperwork if you already have a student in the school system. Yes, you do. So our registrar does ask that all new registering preschool students do provide, first of all, the birth certificate, because that would be unique to them, but also the proof of residency, because we need the proof of residency to be dated within, especially the utility bill, within the last 60 days. Any child that, say, registered with us last year or a couple of years ago, obviously wouldn't have had recently submitted a utility bill, so she does need that resubmitted. If you have any questions about that, you can talk to Mrs. Godine, but we do need that stuff to be registered, submitted for these individual students. Okay. And we have another question. When do students on the wait list find out if they're able to attend? So just to kind of recap, we have 42 families that move to this phase. We do have 32 spots, and the 32 spots are based on the state requirements for our instructional grouping size. So in our integrated preschool, the state tells us we can have 8 students who are community peers, and we can have up to 7 students on IEPs for a total of 15 students. So the 8 community peers per class, per session, you see we have 16 in the morning, 16 in the afternoon. That's where we get the 32 from. So we do 42 because we have found that some families do need to drop out. Sometimes we've actually already had 2 families who were in the top 32 have already told us they're not able to move forward with the program. So this does happen as we go through. We try to tell families of those who are numbers 33 through 42. By the time of screening, we'll have a pretty good idea, maybe not a definite idea. Soon after screening, we're able to give families updates, and by April, we'll able to really give a good solid update of where we are. If your child is in that range from 33 to 42 on our wait list, we will definitely stay in touch with you and let you know as we're moving forward. Like I said, prior to this evening, I already had 2 families notify me that they're not. So if your child is 33 or 34, you've already moved up. So keep that in mind. There is a lot of attrition. And beyond number 42, we have a number of other students also on our wait list. And we will be moving on to those families if we continue to have spots to fill. I see a question. My daughter's birthday is the 4th birthday is in the summer. Yes, please bring the 3rd birthday physical to the screening, the most recent one you have. And then once you've gone to the 4th year physical, obviously, sometimes we do have students, because our cutoff is September 1st. If your child's birthday is in August, you may not be able to get in for the 4-year appointment until after September 1st. So we recognize that. Please get us the physical that is the most recent one you have. And then after you go to the next 4-year appointment, get that one to the nurse. Okay. Also like to give everybody a reminder too, if you haven't done so already, I think we have another slide with the QR code for signing up. There's our contact information. These are emails. Email is really the great way to, there's the sign-in sheet. Email is a great way to reach us. We'll put that slide back up in a few minutes, but I did want to remind anyone who may not have had a chance to sign in to please do so using this QR code. Also helps if you want to put your child's name into the chat, because we are cross-checking both places. If you did both, if you did the chat and the QR code, fantastic. sometimes families aren't sure if the QR code is working until they understand that. So I see a question about if your child is number 40. Yes, they are still technically on the wait list, but again, we want them to come to the screening. Things move quickly as we go through, and by the time we get to screening, we will have a much better update of where things stand. And for students who are already receiving some services with one of our staff, such as our speech therapist, that question about the services, whether they would continue to kindergarten, yes, we can talk about that individually with families. And here's a question: if your daughter hasn't had a lead level check, Mrs. Johnson, are you still with us about the lead level question?
I am.
Could you answer that? We have a question about if the child has not yet had a lead level check. What should they do?
They probably have had it, and you're just not aware. It's only, it doesn't have to be a recent one, just one in their 3 or 4 years of life. And most likely it has been done. So you can either check on your portal or call the pediatrician for it. And if it has not been done, it is a state requirement in Massachusetts that each child that's in a public school system has to have a lead level. So it will need to be done.
Right. So if you're not sure, you can check with your child's pediatrician and they can let you know. And if it has not been done, I'm sure if you tell them that they are registering for school, they can work with you on that. But again, you can bring that up again too at the appointment for the screening. If you're having difficulty with the QR code, it is in the video description, but also if you put your child's name in the chat, like I said, we are cross-checking the chat with the QR code attendant. So just make sure your child's name is in the chat too. I understand, like if you're struggling, because we're still working with the technology. We've made a lot of gains, but sometimes it doesn't work. That's why we give you multiple options. So again, please make sure your child's name is here in the chat. We have another link right there. And again, just make sure your child's name in the chat. If you want to put it in several times, it's okay. We don't mind if you repeat yourself. Any other questions about our program? Perfect. As you may have heard, Miss Patty and Miss Shauna are both going to be at the screenings. Miss Steph is going to try to be at the screening as well to lend an ear of a speech therapist. And Mrs. Johnson will be there. I'll be in and out. Mr. Gobeil is in and out that day. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be coming to the MEC, checking in at the main office, and we'll be sending you to the location for the screening. We have 2 students booked per time slot for the screening time. And we have about half an hour allocated. That should be plenty of time. Usually it takes about 20 minutes. All right. I see some names coming in. Everybody's getting their name. Again, the most important thing you can do tonight is make sure your child's name is logged in so that you get credit for being here with us this evening. Here's our email addresses. Mrs. Johnson, you can reach out to me or Mr. Gobeil tomorrow, Friday, over the weekend, whenever. We check our email all the time if you have any questions that pop to mind afterwards. And if you don't have any other questions, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'd like to thank the staff for coming on and giving the time on the Wednesday evening here. Again, on behalf of Mrs. Healy, I know she did want to be with us, but we have competing activities, as I know many of you do. So we do appreciate that you took the time to be here with us tonight.
Mrs. Deutschman, I'd like to say thank you to you as well for putting this together and having such a thorough presentation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Gobeil. Okay, we'll stay on for a few more minutes just in case there are any other questions, but you're all welcome to log out. Thank you. We'll see you on the 26th and 27th at the MEC at your designated times.